All right, so I just got done with a studio session. Session went pretty cool. Was working with a young artist, and we had a conversation after the session, and the conversation pretty much went that she felt like she should have been further in her career because of some of the steps she took, and she followed a few people, and she tried to mirror other artists and try to mirror certain steps and certain things they did to get to the point of where they're at. And essentially, you know, during the conversation, I had to pretty much tell her that just because you took the same steps and the same measures as that particular artist does not mean that that path is going to work exactly for you. And just to be clear, me and her did talk. I told her I was going to make a video about it. She was like, she's cool, you know what I'm saying? Because she's a newer artist. Nobody really knows her like that. You know, she does have a few followers, but she knows that, you know, people don't really know her like that. As long as I didn't say her name. So she was fine with that. But what I essentially told her was, you have to follow your own path. And that is for pretty much anything that you do, even outside of music. You have to pretty much follow your own path because that's just how this thing works. Just because an artist may have did steps A, B, C, D, and you followed the same exact steps does not mean that it's going to work for you. It's just like that. And that's just how the world works for pretty much everything. And I think that's where a lot of people, especially in the music industry, go wrong because, you know, you have so many people, so many gurus right now, so many people that's online like me saying, hey, you know, if you do this the exact way, then you will be successful. Me, on the other hand, I say, hey, if you do the simple things, like if you promote yourself, if you make good music, just the simple things, I think you can get ahead, but it's not a guarantee that you're going to be a superstar. And I think that a lot of people are leading people on by saying, if you follow these steps, you can be the next superstar. Go buy my course. And that's something that I don't do. I don't sell any courses. I don't do anything like that. What I do is I try to inspire people to do things that can help them to become successful. There is no steps out here that you can follow that will ultimately make you a successful artist, a successful producer, a successful writer, whatever, successful manager, successful record label. It does not matter. There is no exact steps on how to do this. There is no money you can put into this to make you successful. There is none. There is no particular song that you have to make or particular song that you think you have to make that can make you successful. I see artists all the time, like, all I need to do is just get me like a 15-second hook, and I just need something that's real TikTok-ish, and it's gonna blow up, and I'm gonna be successful. And all I just need is just a few influencers to dance to it. I'm gonna pay them a few dollars to dance to it, and it's gonna work. And guess what? It doesn't work a lot of times. The one thing that I can say that has worked over the years is a form of word of mouth. That's pretty much the only thing that I know without spending millions and millions of dollars to try to manufacture success. Word of mouth is the one thing that has always stood the test of time. And what I say by that is, it's kind of new right now because word of mouth is more like word of share right now. More people share things right now across the internet than anything else. And then people share things and people see it, then a lot of times people become fans of what they received. And that's the new way of saying word of mouth right now, because people like to share content via pretty much their cell phones. Most of the stuff that we watch, most of the stuff that we get is on our cell phones when it comes to social media. And I think with that, the organic way of doing it gives you a better chance of becoming a star or becoming the next big thing for that time being, because you don't know if you're ever going to be a star, because you can have one record and that, you could be in and out that fast. And even once you do get to that point to where you have something organic, it doesn't mean that it's just going to blow up and then you're going to be a multi-millionaire and then you're going to be this big time, person. It does not mean that. But what I will say is, if you do have any type of small success, learn to build from that small success. If you're an artist that makes good music, which there's a ton of artists out here that makes exceptional music out here, that are very rarely seen, that are trying to, take certain ways of becoming known artists, but they don't necessarily get there as fast as some people that necessarily are not as good. And then they might drop a record and then next it just blows up organically out of nowhere. But what some people fail to realize is a lot of times when things blow up organically, it's because that persons or people have a group of people around them that support the record from the beginning. Sometimes it's 10 or 15 people. They might get the record and like, oh man, we believe in them. Oh man, hey, and those 10 or 15 people would tell another 10 or 15 people, man, you need to check this record out. Man, this thing is cold. Man, this thing is right. I like this record. This thing is dope. It's crazy. And then those 10 or 15 people share it like, hey, you need to check out this new record. And next you got 100 people liking the record. Then those 100 people tell more people about the record. Then it just starts spreading. That's how this thing works. Then it just starts spreading here and spreading there. And the reason why I know it works because that's how my biggest record was made. It just spread it. And it's still, to this point right now, it's still, making very good money because it's one of the most popular dance records of all times. And it spread it just because a few people decided to share that song. And that's what I tell a lot of people is you got to get out here and you have to have people that believe in what you do. If you have people that believe in what you do, they will share your talents with other people for free. They just want to be known as, hey, I was one of the few people that helped get this record to where it is. And sometimes they do it in a sense to where they don't even know what they're doing. They're just like, oh man, this is my home girl. She's dope. Oh my goodness, he's dope. He made a record. You need to check this record out. And next thing the record grows legs, and they don't even know what they did. They helped you out. That's why I say that every artist needs some sort of a support system in a sense. Now, what I'm saying is you don't need to have everybody in your business like that, but you have to have some type of support system to get these records or to get to these beats or to get to people to know who you are as a songwriter or a producer or, as an artist or whatever. But you have to have something. You can't really do it by yourself. I see a lot of you guys thinking, oh, well, I'm gonna just make an ad and I'm gonna put some ad money behind it and I'm gonna spread it like that and people are just gonna like it. No. A lot of times when the information comes from people that they know, people respect that information better than just something just being thrown up in front of their faces. That's some of the ways you can get a little bit further. But simply following somebody else's path, not really knowing what that path really is, because artists get on here all the time. They'll be like, oh, I did this, I did that, I did this, and I became a superstar. But they never tell you about all the failures. They never tell you about the people who helped them out along the way. They don't tell you about that. They don't tell you about the 3 other people they were signed to before they got the big record deal. And then they got the big manager. And then they basically left everybody behind. They don't tell you about that. They leave out a lot of critical details when it comes to a lot of these stories. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I try to tell people all the time is the path that some people take is not going to be the path that you're going to be on. You got to sit here and think about all the stories you hear about artists. They tell you, oh, how I got to this point. But then later on down the line, you start seeing a whole bunch of people pop out like, nah, it didn't happen like that. Nah, they did this. No, it happened like that. No, they were signed to me first and then they left me for this person. Or nah, they quit music and then they decided they wanted to come back and then they made a little record after they had a little fan base and came. You hear all these different stories, okay? Because everybody comes online to talk right now nowadays for some reason. That's why I'm saying is just because you hear somebody's story or hear this situation does not mean that it was 100% factual, because some stories I know personally and I'd be like, nah, that's not how it worked. You know what I'm saying? Even my own personal story, people like, they'll make videos, like people have made videos about my song, Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nay Nay, and they taking news clips and articles and basically just regurgitated that stuff. And I'm sitting there looking at this stuff. I'm like, nah, that's not how it worked. Like they'll take certain clips from like, or they'll take certain quotes from what I've said in articles, and they'll be like, oh, it just happened like that. And I'm like, nah, that's what happened, but nah, it was more to it than that. And I don't really like to tell people exactly how we did it, because people would think, oh, all I got to do is just mirror exactly what they did and it'll work. And then they'll be like, well, how did it work for them, but it didn't work for me? I try not to do that, because at the end of the day, it's not going to work for you. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not going to work for you. It can help you out, but it's not going to work for you that way. I believe every single situation is specific to that situation. I said specific. It's specific to that situation. And I think that you have to go on your own path and your own journey to kind of love like the end result. Let's put it like that. Like if you don't go on your own path or own journey, you're not going to love the end result. When you finally get to that point and you look back at all the heartache, all the pain, all the sweat, all the tears, all that stuff, it's the journey is what makes this thing great. Because when you get to that level and you finally get to that point, things start getting a little crazy. Because now everything you work for, you got, and it's like, okay, what else is next? So that's why I'm saying everybody's journey is going to be a little bit different. You're going to have different emotions, going to have different feelings. You're going to meet different people. It's going to be, everything is going to be different, because parts are always moving in this world. So you have to carve out your own path. And sometimes when you carve out a new path, you will see better results, because you're not trying to be a carbon copy of somebody else. You have to be very authentic to yourself, and you have to move in a way that represents you the best way. That way, over time, I believe you can get some success. Will it be the major success? I don't know. But if you keep building upon the little successes that you have, I don't care if it's selling 10 copies on the first day you release it. I don't care if it's doing 1 million streams in 3 or 4 months. Once you get those little successes, then you carve out your own path and you keep expanding on on those successes. I think things will work out better for you, because nobody's path is going to be the same. I know I've said that over and over again, but I'm keeping it real. Nobody's path is going to be the same. Have a base, have a plan, try to execute that plan. If it doesn't work, go to another plan. And then once you see some positive results, expand from that. And in that way, it'll put you in a better chance of achieving the success you were looking for.